Later today, the Prime Minister will say his government's first budget will embrace the harsh light of fiscal reality, but he'll also say that better days are ahead.
Keir Starmer will also face questions after Labour MP Mike Amesbury was suspended by the party over a video showing him punching a man to the ground. Cabinet Office Minister Pat McFadden joins us now. Good morning to you. Thank you for joining us. We've obviously got lots to talk about with the upcoming budget, but I just wanted to start with getting your reaction on what has happened with Mike Amesbury. Obviously, a police investigation is ongoing. He has been suspended. There are calls for him to resign, though. Do you think he should?
Well, he's been suspended by the Labour Party over the weekend. That applies to both his Labour Party membership and to his role as a Labour MP. The police are investigating the incident that took place the other night. I think it's important that they do their work and reach a conclusion to their investigation. I don't have much more to add to it than that right now.
OK, what was your reaction when you saw what happened?
Well, the video is very graphic. I'm sure the police are looking at that. They've questioned Mike Amesbury. I don't know if they've spoken to anyone else. Let's let the police do their work and reach their conclusion. I think that's the best thing to do, and the most responsible thing for me to do at the moment is to let them do their work.
OK. Turning to, obviously, the upcoming budget this week, it's on a lot of people's minds. They're worried about how it might impact them. Can you clear something up for us? Because there seems to be a bit of confusion as to what a working person is.
Well, for me, this phrase was used in relation to the tax promises that we made in the manifesto. They were tax promises around tax, national insurance and VAT. Those promises will be kept when the Chancellor gets to her feet on Wednesday. It's important that we keep our promises to the voters, and we'll do that when the budget statement takes place. And that's what we meant when we used that phrase. It was also meant in a different sense of putting the Labour Party back into the service of the British public, maybe being less inward-looking than we'd been before and making sure that we were focused on the public first and foremost. And that's what we are now, and that's very much where we were at the election.
I think people might be confused, mightn't they? You know, they might have voted for you thinking that taxes wouldn't go up for them if they consider themselves a working person. Wes Streeting says he's not a working person. Bridget Phillipson on 160-odd thousand says she is a working person. Sir Keir Starmer says if you go out and earn your living, if it's paid in a monthly cheque, but you can't write a cheque to get you out of difficulty, that makes you a working person. There'll be a lot of people, I think, out there a bit confused as to whether they are a working person or not. What was your definition of it?
That's why I think rather than go through definitions of job descriptions and income levels, it's better to look at this through the light of what we said in the manifesto about taxes, which was that those three main taxes that people pay, their income tax, their national insurance and their VAT, wouldn't rise. They wouldn't see a change in their payslip on those taxes on their wages that they get. That was true in the campaign, and it'll be true after the Chancellor's budget on Wednesday.
You misled people, didn't you? I mean, what about a small business owner, for example, who might only make a few £1,000s of profit? They are apparently not a working person. They're going to be hit by the national insurance, aren't they?
Well, let's see what the budget says. I don't want to speculate on budget measures. I don't think we misled people. We did plenty of interviews on this programme and others about tax, and we were, in fact, continually attacked for not ruling out other tax changes, including by the Conservative Party, who picked out employers' national insurance and said that we had conspicuously failed to not to rule that out. And they listed lots of other things as well. So this was debated extensively during the election.
Can I just take you back to... you made a reference there to Payslip. Bridget Phillipson said the same thing yesterday. People won't see, working people won't see a tax rise on their payslip, their income tax, their national insurance, their employees' national insurance. They won't see a VAT rise on their receipt. Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
So there's speculation in the weekend papers there might be an extension of the freezing of personal income tax allowances. If personal allowances were frozen for more years, that absolutely would categorically be seen on somebody's payslip. You have just ruled out there being any further extension of personal allowances because nothing will show up on the payslip. That's right, isn't it?
Well, let's see what the Chancellor says. I don't want to be drawn on
I understand
speculation
that.
on that.
Pat, I'm taking you back to exactly what you said. You said we wouldn't see a pay rise on our pay slips. That means it's not possible for there to be a rise in the personal allowance, a further extension of the freezing of the personal allowance.
Well, you won't expect me to say anything more about budget measures today. You won't have long to wait.
I'm asking about the logic of what I said. Logically, it's right, isn't it? Well, if you're ruling out a pay slip, then there can't be a further extension of the personal allowance.
Look, I don't want to go any further than what we said in the manifesto or what I've said this morning. For other measures, we'll have to wait to see what the Chancellor says on Wednesday.
As far as I'm concerned, you've been very clear this morning there will be nothing on the pay slip, and therefore, if there was then an extension of the personal allowance, that would absolutely be a break in the manifesto commitment. But you're not going to answer that question, so I won't put it to you. Let me put another point. People say you're going to end austerity. The Prime Minister says that. The Chancellor says you're going to end austerity. Lots of our viewers will say the winter fuel allowance is being taken away. You may be about to uncap bus fares. The Chancellor is saying she's going to have to cut public spending for some departments. Tax rises into the tens of billions of pounds. This looks like, for our viewers, austerity. It looks like what the Tories did.
Well, I don't think that's what the Tories did. If we'd carried on with the Tory plan that we inherited, we would be seeing declines in investment in future years. And the Chancellor's been clear she doesn't want to do that. She wants to build the houses. She wants to improve the fabric of schools and hospitals and the other things that investment will be used for. And she wants to begin to turn around the NHS. That is very much not austerity.
Why is taking the winter fuel allowance away from people not austerity?
Look, this is a decision we didn't want to take. I'm sure you've discussed it many times in the last few months.
Sure. But why is it not austerity?
Because austerity would see us with cuts right across the board. We're not going to be having that. We're going to be improving the public services where we can.
So if it's just pensioners, it's not austerity. But if it's across the board, it is austerity.
No, I don't think we're engaging in austerity. We're going to have a budget which does three things. It will stabilise the public finances in line with the promises that we made in the manifesto. It will start to turn around the public services, the NHS in particular. That is certainly not austerity. And crucially, it will change the investment story for the country in the future, because the plans that we inherited were to cut back on that and to cut back on the future. And that is actually the alternative that the Tories would offer if they had the chance to make this budget on Wednesday. Thankfully, they don't. So this is a big moment for the country where we can not just have a set of budget measures, but actually start to change the country's story for the future.
Are you worried about how this is going to be seen by people, though? I'm looking at the front page of the Eye today. It's saying budget warning for Labour as voters grow more cynical since the election. Trust in politics has declined, it says, since July. The challenge facing the government as this first budget looms. More than three-quarters of voters now believe MPs only look out for themselves. Politicians don't care about the public's views. There are a lot of people out there who are really worried about how this is going to affect them. And they're also worried that they may have voted for a party who has now gone back on their promises.
Well, we won't go back on our promises. And I think what you'll see on Wednesday is actually the most honest budget that we've had for many years, where we won't be saying we're going to fund this and fund that without putting the money up to do it. That's a break with what we inherited, where, you know, we went through it. We had pay awards that the Tories were running away from, compensation schemes for things like infected blood and postmasters, where the Tories hadn't put the money aside. We have got to fix this and stabilise these public finances. And where we say we're going to fund something, say how we're going to do it. That will be an honest break with the recent past, and it will be the most honest budget that the country's had for a long time.
And just a final question, and another thing that you said you would fix, you talked about the small boat crossings and how you wanted to bring those numbers down. We now know that more people have crossed the Channel in small boats this year than in the whole of last year. We had another death in the Channel at the weekend. When is this going to be brought to an end? When are the gangs going to be smashed that we were promised?
Well, we are already speeding up the processing. We've increased the returns. This is a big challenge facing the country. The situation we inherited was they'd gone up very sharply in the first 6 months of this year. We've set up a new border security command. We've appointed its new head, and this is something we're going to take very seriously, because we know that you cannot have tens of thousands of people crossing the channel in small boats in a way that they are, putting themselves in danger, and it's not the way our immigration system can be run.
Pam McFadden, we will see on Wednesday when the budget comes whether you're right that it's the most honest budget for decades. Thank you for joining us this morning.